Let's look at the temptation of Adam and Eve where they partook from the tree. Again, this is from the Aramaic and Palestinian Targums book. If you missed it in the last video, God made Adam black and white and red, and we're picking up from there. And a garden from the Eden of the just was planted by the word of the Lord God before the creation of the world. And he made there to dwell the man when he had created him. And the Lord God made to grow from the ground every tree that was desirable to behold and good to eat, and the tree of life in the midst of the garden, whose height was a journey of 500 years, and the tree of whose fruit they who ate would distinguish between good and evil. Jerusalem translation, and the tree of knowledge of which anyone who ate would distinguish between good and evil. And a river went forth from Eden to water the garden, and from thence was separated and became 4 heads of rivers, or 4 chief rivers. The name of the first is Pishon, that is it which compass the land of Hiddekel, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is choice. There is the Badilcha and the precious stones of beryls. We would be more familiar with that was in the land of Havilah, where there was gold, and it's bdellium and onyx stone. Bdellium is a semi-transparent gum resin which is similar to myrrh and has a lot of useful medicinal benefits. Onyx was mentioned in the breastplate the high priest wore. It was also mentioned in the book of Job and other places in the Bible. The name of the second river is Gihon, that is which encompass all the land of Cush. And the name of the third river is Diglath, that is it which goeth to the east of Athor, and the fourth river is Phirath. In terms more familiar to us, that would say the second river is the Gihon, the same that compasses the whole land of Ethiopia. That's according to the King James Bible. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel, that is it which goes toward the east of Assyria, and the fourth is the Euphrates. And the Lord God took the man from the mountain of worship where he had been created, and made him dwell in the Garden of Eden, to do service in the law and to keep its commandments. The Jerusalem translation says, and the Lord God took the man and made him dwell in the Garden of Eden, and set him to do service in the law and to keep it. And the Lord God commanded Adam, saying, of every tree in the garden eating thou mayest eat, but of the tree of whose fruit they who eat or become wise to know between good and evil, thou shalt not eat, for in the day that thou eatest, thou wilt be guilty of death. And the Lord God said, it is not right that Adam should be sleeping alone. I will make unto him a wife who may be a helper before him. Jerusalem translation, I will make for him a yoke fellow, which we saw in the last video means companion, going forth with him. And the Lord God created from the earth every beast of the field and every fowl of the heavens, and brought them to Adam to see by what name he would call it. And whatever Adam called the living animal, that was its name. And Adam called the names of all the cattle, all fowl of the heavens, and all beasts of the field. But for Adam was not found as yet a helper before him. Jerusalem translation, and for Adam was not found a yoke fellow going forth with him. And the Lord God threw a deep slumber upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs, it was the 13th rib on the right side, and closed it up with flesh. And the Lord God builded the rib which he had taken from Adam into a woman, and he brought her to Adam. And Adam said, this time and not again is woman created from man. Thus, because she is created from me, she is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. This it is fit to call woman, because from man she was taken. Therefore a man shall leave and be separate from the house of the bed of his father and his mother, and shall consociate with his wife. That means to fellowship or to hang around, be in partnership with. And both of them shall be one flesh. And both of them were wise, Adam and his wife, but they were not faithful or truthful in their glory. The Jerusalem translation says, "Therefore a man shall leave the house of the bed of his father and his mother, and they knew not what is shame. And the serpent was wiser unto evil than all the beasts of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, Is it truth that the Lord God hath said, You shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, From the rest of the fruits of the tree of the garden we have power to eat, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, the Lord hath said, You shall not eat of it, nor approach it, lest you die. In that hour the serpent spake accusation against his Creator, and said to the woman, Dying you will not die, for every artificer hateth the son of his art. For it is manifest before the Lord that in the day that you eat of it, you will be as the great angels, who are wise to know between good and evil. And the woman beheld Samael, the angel of death, and was afraid. Yet she knew that the tree was good to eat, and that it was medicine for the enlightenment of the eyes, and desirable tree by means of which to understand. So this Samael that she sees after partaking of the tree is known in some ancient Jewish literature as Satan himself. In Hebrew, the name means venom or poison of God. And she took of its fruit and did eat, and she gave to her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of both were enlightened, and they knew that they were naked, divested of the purple robe in which they had been created. I thought that part was very interesting because Jesus, Yeshua, is known to be clothed in a purple robe. And they saw the sight of their shame, and sewed to themselves the leaves of figs, and made to them cinctures. That means a girdle or belt. Kind of sounds like the Ephesians 6 armor. And the Jerusalem translation says, And they made to them vestments. And they heard the voice of the word of the Lord God walking in the garden in the repose of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from before the Lord God among the trees of the garden. And the Lord God called to Adam, and he said to him, Is not all the world which I have made manifest before me, the darkness as the light? And how hast thou thought in thine heart to hide from before me? The place where thou art concealed, do I not see? Where are the commandments that I commanded thee? The Jerusalem translation says, Walking in the garden in the strength of the day. And the word of the Lord God called to Adam and said to him, Behold, the world which I have created is manifest before me. And how thinkest thou that the place in the midst thereof thou art is not revealed before me? Where is the commandment which I taught thee? And he said, The voice of thy word heard I in the garden, and I was afraid, because I am naked, and the commandment which thou didst teach me I have transgressed. Therefore I hid myself from shame. And he said, Who showed thee that thou art naked, unless thou hast eaten of the fruit of the tree of which I commanded that thou shalt not eat? And Adam said, The woman that thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the fruit of the tree, and I did eat. And the Lord God said to the woman, What hast thou done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me with his subtlety, and deceived me with his wickedness, and I ate. And the Lord God brought the three unto judgment, and he said to the serpent, Because thou hast done this, cursed art thou of all the cattle, and of all the beasts of the field. Upon thy belly thou shalt go, and thy feet shall be cut off. And thy skin thou shalt cast away once in 7 years, and the poison of death shall be in thy mouth, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between the seed of thy son and the seed of her sons. And it shall be, when the sons of the woman keep the commandments of the law, they will be prepared to smite thee upon thy head. But when they forsake the commandments of the law, thou wilt be ready to wound them in their heel. Nevertheless, for them there shall be a medicine, but for thee there will be no medicine. And they shall make a remedy for the heel in the days of the king Messiah. I was struck by how closely that sounds to the word Messiah. I will stop reading here, and there are other very interesting parts in the Bible. I don't plan to read every chapter because we probably would never be able to get through it all. I do plan to put some of the highlights together for the chapters I don't read, but this was just packed full of amazing things I've never heard before. When I looked for more information about this King Messiah, it only brought up references to future references of him, such as Genesis 49:10, kings shall not cease nor rulers from the house of Judah, nor seraphim teaching the law from his seed till the time that the king, the Messiah, shall come, the youngest of his sons, and on account of him shall the peoples flow together. How beauteous is the king, the Messiah, who will arise from the house of Judah. He hath girded his loins and descended and arrayed the battle against his adversaries, slaying kings with their rulers. Neither is there any king or ruler who shall stand before him. The mountains become red with the blood of their slain. His garments dipped in blood are like the outpressed juice of grapes. How beautiful are the eyes of King Messiah as the pure wine. He cannot look upon what is unclean, nor on the shedding of the blood of the innocent, and his teeth, purer than milk, cannot eat that which is stolen or torn, and therefore his mountains are red with wine, and his hills white with corn, and with the coats of flocks. I hope everyone enjoyed this as much as I did, and I hope everyone has a good day.